Welcome to A Course in Business Miracles. This is Heather Dominick, creator of businessmiracles.com and founder and leader of the highly sensitive entrepreneur movement. Join me today for some genuine practical assistance and a business-altering and life-changing experience, a business miracle. This is A Course in Business Miracles, episode number 68. Stop being a victim. In this episode, I reveal the powerful Reins It process I teach to the HSE members of my Business Miracles community. This process supports you with breaking the old, non-serving patterns of feeling at the mercy of your highly sensitive business triggers, and instead has you transforming those triggers into high-level HSE financial success. So let's just briefly walk through this together. So the Business Miracles Reins process. Process is to support HSEs to deliberately travel between the U of understanding and the K of knowing of the IUK process of transformation, and the process to reach for when it feels like your business is raining and pouring down on you. And the process is as follows. So first, you need to be able to recognize that you are, for example, in a moment of being triggered, that you are in a moment of shame. And then from a place of non-judgment, moments when you've been triggered by your HSE shadows, tossed into the coping cycle, or sucked down the HSE rabbit hole of resistance. This is about the A part of the IUK process as well. It's just a moment of awareness. Wow, I am recognizing I am not at my best right now. And then from there is to go into A, allow. To allow whatever feelings are coming up as a result of being triggered, as a result of being sucked into the coping cycle, finding yourself suddenly hiding, pushing, or comboing, as a result of really feeling resistance. Now, why are these two parts of the process so important? Because it is literally the opposite of probably what you've done most of your life and what most highly sensitives who are not interested in a retraining of response do. And they go immediately down a path of, I am triggered, this has been done to me, I am a victim, I don't want to do this, I can't handle it, stop. That cascading of emotions. I'm going into overprotection because I don't feel safe, and look at how hard it is to be in this world that's not made for me. Versus, I am not justified in my triggering reaction. I am not justified in my resistance. And actually, these are not things that I want, because I actually want to be experiencing the ability to create success in my business, and I actually just want to feel better in my life. So I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to recognize this is happening. That's all that the R is. This is happening. No judgment. This is happening. And then to allow it. I feel really angry. I feel so full of shame right now. I feel really sad. I feel totally humiliated. I feel really embarrassed. I feel totally overwhelmed. I feel disconnected. I feel depressed, whatever it might be. And really allowing that to happen, to have those feelings, rather than immediately going into disconnect, disassociation, avoidance, etc. But to feel them and know that you can feel your feelings without becoming them. Now, it's not the first time I've said that, but I want you to write it down. That I can feel my feelings without becoming them. Feeling angry doesn't mean anything. Feeling sad doesn't mean anything. Feeling depressed doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything about who you are as a person. And it doesn't mean anything about whatever the particular situation is. It just means you're human. That's it. That's all it means. And that every emotion will shift and change within 90 seconds to 90 minutes. Always. It doesn't mean it won't shift back, but it will shift. So I can feel my feelings without becoming them. And actually, the way to heal is to feel. And you might want to write that down too. And since the way to heal is to feel, that must mean that having feelings is okay. Even if I got the message early on somewhere from someone at some time that it wasn't. Because it's just human. And more than anything, very often I'll be walking down the streets of Manhattan and just, checking people out, looking at them, getting a sense of who they might be. And I feel only compassion for how many people are so disconnected from their feelings, so disconnected from themselves, so disconnected from the people that they're with, so disconnected from their lives. And it doesn't need to be that way. Deep breath in and let it out. From a place of allowing the feelings rather than trying to cut off from them, then we have access to inquiry. Okay, I'm feeling a whole bunch of shame right now. What is that about? What is happening here? What's going on? What is the story that I'm telling myself? What is the shame strategy that I'm engaging in right now? What is the story that has triggered this? From a place of curiosity. So someone said this morning, it's so good to know that the opposite of shame is grace. And I love that. And I actually didn't really intend on that when I created the chart, but yeah, let's go with that. But the way from shame to grace in between is curiosity. And that's why on the resistance to resilience chart, you'll see underneath shame and grace, energy management. Because energy management is a way to work through, to process, to be curious about what's happening here. Now that can sound so easy to do, right? But if you've been told over and over and over again that feeling your feelings is wrong, that you aren't feeling shame, but you are shame, which means that there's something wrong with you. If you've had any kind of version of that repeated socialization, the inquiry, you can only get to it through practice. Get through it by being in a community that can hold you accountable, where you can go to a forum and you can write something like, I just had this happen and I arranged it. And people respond and they know exactly what you're talking about and they support you. And not only do they support you, but the fact that you've been willing to show up in V&V about something that you just ranged through really helps somebody else reading it and helps them remember, oh yeah, I've got that option. I can do that. But inquiry is really, really the key. From inquiry, once we've started to unpack it, then we can go into nurture. And nurturing is different than soothing. When we turn to soothing as highly sensitives, that is part of the coping cycle. It is part of that victim approach to our highly sensitive nature. This day has been so hard. I have to I've got to take a bath, or like Juanita said earlier, the meditation sign goes up. And then if you aren't really conscious and you're just living your whole life through coping, then the meditation sign is always up, like she was saying. And then you're like, oh gosh, I wonder why I don't have any clients. And like she said, it's because they're knocking at the door and you're on the other side meditating. Nurturing, an example of nurturing is what I shared yesterday when I told you about my jury duty experience. And like my nervous system was like so raw and so fried, right? Like I wobbled out of the elevator. And then like the first thing I did is like sit down on like the first bench. I couldn't even leave the building. Although, can we all agree that government buildings are the last place that we want to spend our time, right? Usually I'm looking to get out of them as fast as possible. But sat down, texted the team, right? Or like posted on our team forum. Then went, got something to eat, actually nourished my body, and then I walked. And just for anyone who doesn't know anything about Manhattan, from walking from basically one end to almost the other, like I walked pretty much like 6 miles. That was nurturing for me. Just taking my time, walking through the city that I love, getting back into my body. I also reached out and texted a friend. And then from nurture, we can surrender. So again, going with the jury duty example, by the time I got home, I didn't need to carry that anymore. The experience had moved on, right? So then by the time like I was sharing it later, over dinner with my sweetheart husband, it wasn't charged. I wasn't in it anymore, right? I wasn't like, oh, this happened to me. It was just like, wow, you are going to find this so interesting. Here's what went down today. It's gone. And you can let it go. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Course in Business Miracles. If you're ready to learn how to use your highly sensitive abilities to support you in being purposeful, profitable, and empowered rather than scattered, poor, and undervalued, take my free self-quiz to find out if you are indeed a highly sensitive entrepreneur. And if you are, along with your quiz results, you'll receive my free HSE Success Guide, which will teach you how to have your highly sensitive abilities working for you to create the results you desire in your business. Take the quiz and receive your free success guide now at www.hsequiz.com.